Hi guys, welcome back to TSI. I'm Dave, and I'm in the car, so this is a good car talk video. I love doing these car talk videos because I seem to be the most focused for whatever reason. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about the Mosin-Nagant and my personal feelings on it. This is neither I hate the Mosin or an I love the Mosin video. I've gone through phases in my life. The Mosin-Nagant was the first rifle, the first big caliber, big bore rifle, the first true military cartridge that I ever bought. I went from a 22, meaning the Remington 597, all the way to the Mosin-Nagant. Those are the first two guns I own. I got the 597 when I was about 16, and then I got the Mosin-Nagant when I was in my early 20s. So I made one hell of a transition. And the Mosin-Nagant, I remember doing research on it, and at the time the guns were about $100. And nowadays they can be found, you know, about $200. I know a guy locally who sells them for about $200. And I both love and hate them. I love how cheap they are. That's beyond doubt that you get a lot of bang for your buck when you buy a Mosin-Nagant. On the other hand, though, they are ergonomically horrible. They're just backwards. You know, there's I don't remember the old saying, but it's like if you ask a Russian to design you a shoe, he'll basically design you a box or something like that. The Russians have never been good at developing things that are especially ergonomic. They're great at just developing guns that are just caveman tough. You know, kind of like a club. You know, it just works. And it works fairly well. So the Mosin-Nagant is not the most accurate bolt action in the world. It's not the most ergonomic bolt action in the world. It's not the lightest bolt action in the world. So what is it aside from the price? What makes it cool aside from the price? Well, as I said before, it's really fucking tough. Those are tough guns. Now, with that said, I do not recommend the Mosin-Nagant for a general purpose defensive arm. And there's been a lot of conversation with the gun community about really what's the best gun to arm the masses with, and people automatically say Mosin-Nagant because of price. And I generally think that's a poor idea. I don't think that the Mosin-Nagant is a great arm the masses gun. One of your immediate reactions might be, well, the Russians armed their peasant soldiers with Mosin-Nagants. Yes, that's true, they did. And they were successful, too. Yes, they were. 16 million casualties later. Or even higher than that. I don't know the exact figures of Russian deaths from World War II. But they lost a lot of men. And the reason why they were so successful is because the Russians were just able to produce those guns. Not necessarily because the Mosin-Nagant is a great, excellent, you know, world-destroying design. I think it is a good design, but I don't think it's the best in the world. Even compared to rifles that existed at the time, the Lee Enfield, SMLE, the M1903, the Car 98, the I know I'm forgetting something. Well, I don't even count the Carcano because that's a shitty gun. The Arisaka. The Arisakas are great guns, actually. It just wasn't all that great compared to those guns. It was just on a lower tier. So what do I think that? Whoa! See, the thing about traffic is that a lot of people like to stop really short randomly. So anyway, what do I think the Mosin-Nagant is best for? Well, we were discussing it a few days ago or a few nights ago about it, and the Mosin-Nagant, although it's not a sniper rifle, it does have a lot of capability in terms of range. It's minute of bad guy accuracy. Yes, the Russians did use them for sniper rifles, but that's only because they didn't have anything else. They're not that accurate. I'm sorry that they're not. They're not super inaccurate, but they're minute of bad guy accuracy. Let's make that very clear to each other. They're not sniper rifles. They are at best the poor man's DMR, and that's exactly what I think their role is in any kind of situation. And like I said, I owned Mosin-Nagants in the past, and I sold them because of ergonomic issues, because they just suck ergonomically, especially for a lefty. But now, as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, listen, the Mosin-Nagant may not be the best rifle in the world, but if you're going to have one big bore rifle for hunting, the Mosin-Nagant is not a bad choice. If you're going to have one big bore rifle for a kind of a DMR role, like as Evan described, sort of a sentry rifle, meaning that you can range out with it, you can suppress enemies, you can do it that way. And in that sense, the Mosin-Nagant does in fact fit the bill. If you go to stories about Afghanistan and Iraq, you'll know that, your whole stories, that guys with Lee Enfields and Mosin-Nagants and Kar 98s and battle rifles from that era were known to actually pin down an entire squad of soldiers, this one dude shooting at them, because unlike today's assault rifles or Tidik cartridges or today's military rifles that use an intermediate round, the older style ones were designed to really just range out there, just really get people. It was a different philosophy back then because they had a different style of combat. So in that sense, I think that the Mosin-Nagant does have a purpose. It can be used. However, there are a lot better options out there in terms of precision bolt-action guns. They're not the most precise in the world, but that's what's got me thinking about it. It got me thinking. If the Mosin-Nagant can serve in that capability, if we know its limitations and we know that it's not this, or that, and we know that it can do this really well within a prepper group or within a shit at the fan rifle, then I think we can really begin to rethink what the Mosin-Nagant is good at. It's not the best arm the masses guns, and I didn't really explain why, but let me tell you, it's because it's, again, not very ergonomic. The actions on them are generally rough, whether or not this is due to Cosmoline or just because the actions are rough. It's neither here nor there. The truth is that, or the fact in 2015 is that a lot of these guns, because of whatever reason, are very rough. Their actions are very rough. And people who don't have a lot of experience shooting may be able to manhandle that bolt. But why not just give them an AR-15? AR-15s were designed because they can put a lot of rounds on target in a very short amount of time, and they have low recoil. So if I was going to design a gun to arm the masses per se, I would go with an AR-15, like a budget AR-15. You can build them for very, very cheap nowadays. $500 gets you a decent AR-15. And you have so much more capability in terms of how much rounds you're able to pour down range, because even in states like us in New York, where we have 10 rounds, that's still better than 5 rounds in the Mosin-Nagant. And yeah, the Mosin-Nagant's cartridge, the 7.62 by 54R, certainly has more stopping power and range and all that kind of stuff. But as I've discussed in previous videos, in a shit at the fan situation, you're likely only going to be engaging targets 100 yards in. And in that sweet spot, the AR-15 and modern rifles really come into their own, especially when you consider magazine capacity. And if you live in a freer state, you got 30 rounds, or hell, you can fucking 75 rounds if you want. But that's just my opinion on it. So I might actually invest in a new Mosin-Nagant. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think my philosophy on the Mosin-Nagant is at all accurate? Am I just talking out of my ass? Feel free to tell me, guys. So anyway, yeah, Top Secret Industries here again, and have a good day.